pay attention and don't fall asleep, then you can have this peanut butter bar after you're done. This one right here, this one, you can have this one right here. If you don't fall asleep and you pay attention, you have notes in front of you. Here is some notes to take using this PowerPoint. There are 2 rules of thumb that you need to know about the Constitution versus the Bill of Rights. At the very top of the notes where all the charts are, will you please fill this in? The Constitution involves the structure of government. I want you to think of the Constitution as the plans for like a blueprint. And when I say structure of government, I want you to think of the government as being built like a building, right? You know how you have when you build a new house. I don't know if any of you ever have gotten a new house built. I did when I was a kid, right? I remember it was kind of fun going and playing around all that stuff, right? Very dangerous. But the point is you have this flat surface, this foundation, and then on top of it you have these timbers that were built to frame the house, the wooden studs, right? That's kind of what the Constitution is doing. It's kind of building a structure. It's as if the government is like a 3-dimensional building. So that's kind of the analogy I want to have you to have. And of course, Bill of Rights just involve protection of individual liberties, freedoms. I'll get a little bit more detailed than that right there, but that's the gist, right? So again, Constitution, structure, Bill of Rights, protection of liberty. Okay. You have a chart in front of you, and it's probably hard to see the lines right here, right? But on the screen, but I think you'll be all right there. So let's just draw a little bit more. Why not? Whoop. And just to try to show off, let's make that one black. Why not? Yeah. Okay. Separation of powers. Anybody out there know what separation of powers are? Yes, you. Tell me. Wrong, sorry. This is actually what it is. Dividing government power between 3 branches. I'll give you a second to write that down. Dividing government power between 3 branches. We separate the powers of government into 3 parts. Now, I'm not a good artist. You will find that my drawing skills are lacking. You will see me try to draw the United States, and it will look kind of like a fish, right? That's my United States, right? So I know that that's terrible, right? So having said that, since I am not very good at drawing, I do my best to keep it simple. So I'd like for you to draw a box. This is kind of like a blueprint, right? If we're talking about government structure and government looking like a building, what would government look like if the Constitution was our blueprint? This is kind of what it would look like, right? Pretend this box is all government power. We divide it, right? Between 3 branches. And what are those 3 branches? You, way in the back there. Back there. Where? You. Tell me, what are the 3 branches? Sorry, no, that's wrong. It's legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Can you draw that for me? I know it's simple, but if government structure looked like a building, looked like blueprints, it would kind of look like this. A house with 3 rooms. Checks and balances, what are they? We often talk about checks and balances when we talk about separating powers out. And my definition here is each branch can block the actions of others. Each branch can block actions done by the other branches. So what would that look like if we were drawing it out? Let's draw another box. That has 3 divisions. And what are the 3 branches of government? I heard it way back in the back. Yes, you got it right. Okay, see? Legislative, executive, judicial. Now, can anybody out there give me an example of a check and balance that one branch can do to another? Like, for example, what can the president do to a law that is passed by the Congress that he doesn't like? No, that's wrong. It's a veto. So the president can veto a law by the legislature. That is his check. That's his invasion into their territory. It helps keep them in line in case they write bad laws. But they, in order to keep him in line, can override his veto. Right? They can keep each other in check just in case one gets too out of sorts. Okay, so the Supreme Court can declare his laws unconstitutional, his rules unconstitutional, and their laws unconstitutional, but they can impeach judges just like they can impeach the president, and he can appoint them. They can confirm them. So there's checks and balances all around. You basically, each branch is able to check and balance the powers of the others. Okay, hold on, because we're going to talk about why all this happened, why all this is. But let's go to the next thing. Federalism. No student has known what federalism is yet. Can anybody out there tell us what federalism is? Yes, you in the front row, you said it right. Dividing government power between a state level and a federal or national level. Dividing government power between state and federal levels. This is not separation of powers like this, but we are going to draw another box. How would we draw this, though? If it's not like this, then what would it look like? We're dividing power up again. Think of it this way. Which would be on top? Which would have the most power? The federal government, the national government, or the state government? You're right. The federal government would be on top and the state governments would be on bottom. So we divide power up again this way. National power up here. We also call it federal power, and the states. And if we wanted to make it even more complicated, we could do this. There's a legislature at the national level, Congress, but the states have their own legislatures, like the Ohio General Assembly. The federal government has their own executive, the president, but each state has their own executive, the governor. There's a national Supreme Court, and there's a state Supreme Court of Ohio or other states. And look, we could have all these checks and balances going back and forth, but we could even draw arrows up here. The states sometimes get to check the federal government. The federal government sometimes gets to check the state government sometimes get to check the federal government and vice versa. So power is divided up a lot, and that's not it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Wow. Does that bother you? Bothers me a little bit. Okay. Where was I? Bicameralism. Bi means what? Correct, two. Cam means house. Two houses. We divide up government power between two houses. Our Congress has two houses. Now, we could, if we wanted to, draw the same box. Well, that's all government power. Now it's being divided up. Executive and judicial branches. The legislature, I'm going to draw a dotted line, is divided into two. The upper house is called the Senate, and the lower house is called the House of Representatives, but you all already knew that, right? Why do we do this? Why do we have all of this division of power, right? I mean, we could even make it even more complicated by taking the state level and dividing it into two, because our legislature in Ohio has two different houses, a Senate and a House of Representatives. Why do we divide power up so much? Why? What's the point? What's the reason? Does somebody know? Why does our government structure look like this? Anybody? I mean, think about the history here. We just came from in the 1700s, the late 1700s, had just broken away from Great Britain. Great Britain had a king. Great Britain's king had a lot of power concentrated in his hands. There have been kings throughout history who they have had all power concentrated in their hands, that they were the lawmakers. They were the law enforcers. They were the judge, jury, and executioner too. They had all these powers in one hand, and why don't we want that to happen? Why don't we want all power to be in one person's hands in the United States? I mean, even if you're a Trump fan, would you want to have Trump have all the power in his hand, like every single ounce of government power? Would you want to have, even if you're a Joe Biden fan, want to have all of the government power in Joe Biden's hands and he can make all decisions? Like, I don't think any of us would like that. I think we do this because we are afraid of power going to people's heads. We're afraid of people abusing power. Deep down, I think, no matter how much we want to say that we think human nature is good, we all know that deep down, anyone really, given too much power, can make the bad decisions that lead to lots and lots of problems. So we divide power up between different branches of government and have each branch check each other and have the different levels check each other. And even the legislature is broken up into two to check each other so that, why? Well, let me type out the reason why here. Oh, can't you type out any? I did it again. Go back, okay. Can't you type out something here? Okay, no, it's about this. It's about protecting our rights. When government is divided up its power this way so much, that is a way to protect our rights. If one of these get bad, then the others can fight back and keep that person in place. Hopefully that makes sense. The first point, the big point, is the Constitution is about the structure of government. You will find these things in the Constitution. The next point I want to make is about the amendments. The amendments are about protecting our rights and our liberties. And I know you can't see First Amendment there. I'm sorry about that. So I'll try to move that there, but you get the gist, right? There are some amendments that are focused on freedoms that the government should never, ever be able to remove from us. Never be able to take away. Within reason. There are other amendments that are about due process. Let me give you an example here. First Amendment. These are rights that we think are really, really, really important that we should never have taken away from us. Our freedom to worship as we choose. Our freedom of speech against the government or in favor of the government. Our freedom to print what we want to say about the government. Our ability to assemble peacefully. That's one limit on this. the ability to write to our government, to petition them and ask them to stop doing one of the things that they're doing or to do something else that we want them to do. Right to bear arms, Second Amendment. Freedoms government shouldn't remove. Does anybody out there know what the Third Amendment is all about? You? No? Okay. It's about British troops. Does that help? I heard it in the back. No quartering of soldiers. We don't have to house them at our own expense. Okay. These are some rights that we should not have taken away. Other things are about rights too. The Bill of Rights, Amendments 4 through 8, are about rights, but they're different. Are about due process. What due process means is that if you're convicted of a crime or accused of a crime or hauled to court or arrested or something like that, there has to be a process in place. The government can't just come, the police can't just come and arrest you for no reason, throw you in jail for no reason, cut off your head for no reason, right? There has to be a process in place. So Amendment 4 has to do with that. If they want to come search your house, search your car, they either need probable cause or a warrant. They are not allowed to have unreasonable searches of your property and not allowed to seize or to take that property unreasonably. Amendment 5 actually talks about due process specifically. That process that I'm starting to explain here should be kept. If the government ever wants to take any property from you, like say they want to put a highway through your house, can they do that? Well, maybe for you nerds out there like me. Don't be like me, I think. What was I saying? If they want to take your house and put a road there, they should not be able to do it unless they have a really, really, really good reason, right? They should be, they should have to explain why. They shouldn't just be able to do it, just be able to kick you out. You should be able to have a lawyer defend you if you want to fight it. And if you lose the fight, they should still have to pay you a fair payment for that, a fair wage, fee, what's the word I'm looking for? Price, whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. There has to be a process, what I'm saying. You have the right, when you go to trial, to confront your accuser, to confront the person who is accusing you. They shouldn't be able to hide and be anonymous. They should. There are very few instances where you shouldn't be able to confront the person accusing you. You can ask the other Mr. Mr. Beavers over there. Is he over there? Where's he at? Anyway, ask him about exceptions if you want. You should have the right to a lawyer to defend you. You should have the right to a trial that is public, meaning that they can't throw you in a dungeon to hold the trial and torture you the whole time, right? And it should be speedy. They shouldn't be able to let it drag out for decades and decades. You have the right to a jury. If you do get convicted, no excessive bail, no excessive fines. No cruel and unusual punishments. Like, for example, drawing and quartering. Do you know what this is? Tie one arm to a horse, the other arm to another horse. Tie one leg to a horse, a third horse, and the other leg to a fourth horse. And then you have the horses gallop in 4 different directions, pulling your limbs off. They used to do that in the Middle Ages. Can't do that. No cruel and unusual punishments. Okay, now, the real Mr. Beavers should have had you fill out the bottom part of your notes. I'm going to get to those in a second. But what this Mr. Beavers is trying to get you to understand here is, in general, we've got government structure here in the Constitution. Constitution, government structure. Bill of Rights, due process, and freedoms that the government shouldn't be able to take away. If you get those, if you get all that, then you should be able to figure out what goes here. This is going back to the Northwest Ordinance, and I created this because I had questions, specific questions about, well, I don't know what, the Constitution is all about, or the Bill of Rights are all about. I just vaguely, I know. So, like, if I knew more, I could figure out what the precedents were better. So here we go. If the Northwest Ordinance set this precedent, if the Northwest Ordinance did this first, that there has to be a Republican structure of government, with all that I've just told you, what do you think goes here? What document followed that precedent that the Northwest Ordinance set first? Government structure? Yes, it's about Constitution. Correct. If the Northwest Ordinance first said there should be trial by jury, religious freedom, what document do you think we find that in later that followed the precedent? Close, but no cigar. It's the Bill of Rights, sorry. What about this one? What about that? Does that seem more like rights or more like government structure? It seems more like government structure, so that would be Constitution. So hopefully you are applying what you learned just now in this screencast. Now, this last one, no slavery, Northwest Ordinance did it first. That's the precedent set. No slavery in the Northwest Territories. What said no slavery throughout the entire nation later? '13th. I assume that most of you got that one first. So, good work, everyone. This should conclude the first part of today's lesson. Mr. Beavers might have some hip hop for you to listen to. The other Mr. Beavers over there might have some hip hop for you to listen to. Right. Yes. This Mr. Beavers is going to get back to work with my Superman gator on. I hope you all have a great evening or afternoon or morning or whatever it is for you. And goodbye.
Hey, why are you wearing that Superman gator? You're supposed to be my buddy.
Sorry, Batman. Sorry, Batman.